What's going on?
Hi.
This is so cool. By the way, I just love how you just went bam, bam, bam. Like, hey, you want to do this? Want to go there? Want to go there? And I'm doing it. I,
I looked at your page and I don't know how I got there, but it was a map of the subconscious and how we map how our subconscious is created.
mm,
And I love that because it is really something that I'm diving into a lot right now with my patients and really helping people with spirituality more than ever, and really helping them understand, like, hey, the things that you're doing right now as an adult are from your subconscious that you developed before you were 7. So we need to work on your
mm,
inner child and all these things. So I loved your page, and I
thank
thought,
you.
I'd love to get you on here and
Yeah,
interview you and let people know what you do and what you're about and how you kind of got there. Just because the more people understand, what we know and understand the subconscious mind and understand how to help themselves and heal themselves, I think we'll just have a better world.
for sure. And then people taking their power back. I think
Exactly.
that's the thing. Is just we've given our power away literally since our birth, right? Just whether it's our birth certificate, that whole birthing process with the words that they use, and then those first 7 years of the things we see, the words we hear, the smells, the sights, and then we take it as our own. And then by the time we get older, it's like, oh, someone's going to figure it out for me, or the doctor's going to do this for me, or the teacher's going to make sure if I don't learn from a teacher, I can't learn it myself. So yes, definitely bringing power back, but now how, what different way, what other perspectives, how can you connect those dots? How can you translate it so a fifth grader can understand it, right? And then giving people those tools and calls to actions to do so. So yeah, everything is spot on from what you said, and definitely we're all part of this worldwide awakening that's going on today as well.
Yeah, I, I,
Mm-hmm.
I think so. And I think knowledge is power. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited to kind of tap into your knowledge a little bit right now. Can you
Yeah.
tell everyone who you are and just what you do and kind of how you got there?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Chris O'Brien. I'm from Orange County. I grew up here in Southern California my whole life. I was an athlete. Basketball was my go-to. That was, if you knew me my whole life, probably up to about 25 years old, I was on a court with a ball and sneakers. I played professionally in Mexico. I played at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And once I finished playing professionally in Mexico, I kind of took the entrepreneurial route, and I kind of started getting my feet wet in different industries, network marketing, personal training, becoming a fitness trainer. I did that for a few years, coaching, mentorship, app developments. I'm in the process of starting a CBD line with a couple other business partners. So it's kind of taken me in different avenues, but probably the number one thing that's been consistent and what I'll share most on this call is the water that I'm drinking, the water that I share with people, the water that I bring awareness to. We always say when you wake up to water, you wake up to yourself. So it's a lot of different connections over time, and a lot of my experience really is self-study, self-research, cross-checking, but a lot of it is things that I've connected myself. A lot of things that I've trialed and errored, and sometimes we think only maybe the ways we can learn is from a book, where in reality, closing our eyes and being still, ideas are already there, right? It's like an infinite source coming in. And I know the work of Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein and those guys, they would just be still and they would fast and they would absorb and retain. And then some of the greatest formulations, downloads, or dot connections came just in silence and stillness. And my whole life, I thought it was always go, go, go. I was in that sympathetic mode of fight or flight, making sure I outwork the person next to me. And now, just in the last few years, more so in the last year or so, just really surrendering more and tapping into feminine energy within myself. And so I've been able to go from one extreme, kind of very left brain dominance, to another extreme, more of the right brain flow, and now finding that balance within, and then taking that and then building a business, taking that and empowering people, taking that and building a brand, taking that and then building a lifestyle, and then giving that back to people, which brings me here today with my whole slogan is "Come Out Better." That's my initials, Chris O'Brien. I was like, what can I put together with COB? It was my nickname I had my whole life, and I was driving by my parents' house one day. I'll never forget it, and it just came, right? It just came in, "Come out better." everything we can do is just to improve every single day, be mindful of the present, but know there's always so much to keep learning on. So that's a snapshot. Been an athlete my whole life, transitioned to entrepreneur, tried a lot of different things. And now I'm a part of a big movement called the Wake movement that's helping the world. We call it the Worldwide Wake, wake up to different parts of themselves by waking up to water as that foundation, which is so powerful for me and so many others as well. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's wonderful. And tell us more about the water. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was such a person I had a Brita filter, I had all my stuff, and I did not think anything was different about water. I didn't know water had a consciousness. I didn't know water holds memory. I didn't know there was structure in water. I didn't know water can have different minerals. I didn't know water could have life and electrons. I didn't know water was used in 100 different ways. I was completely oblivious to it all. I was never taught it. And so I had actually gotten really sick when I was 26 years old. I got ulcerative colitis. I had acid reflux. I was getting eczema on my elbows and groin. I was getting horrible inflammation in my body. And I was taking Pepto-Bismol, I was taking Zantac, I was taking Tylenol, ibuprofen, like they were Skittles. And it was just constant Band-Aids. And then the water that I drank was able to eliminate all those things just in a matter of a couple months. And that's kind of what really started my journey into that water wormhole of, okay, maybe not all water is the same. Okay, maybe there's different ways to utilize water in everyday lifestyles. And now how can I give the things that I've experienced to other people? And then fast forward just to about 2 years ago, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, acute myeloid leukemia. And again, this water, never say anything of cures and things like that, but it did help him get back to a place where he's doing great today, 2 years later. So it's been an amazing journey. And when we try to empower is, I think a lot of people too forget that we're 75% or more water. And I think just that fact alone can go over millions of people's heads because we sometimes reach for so many things, but then make water maybe the last priority. Or not only that, but the water that we're drinking or the things that we're doing to ourselves, and not only ourselves, but the environment. So just being able to empower, educate, inspire with my story and my research, it's definitely been a blessing, and waking people up to water. That's kind of our go-to saying.
Wow. So I didn't know you had ulcerative colitis.
Mm-hmm.
I also had ulcerative colitis.
Really?
As well. So crazy. And I healed myself with
amazing.
All these natural things, nutrition, water, mindset, energy healing, so many different things.
Wow.
Exercise, lifestyle. But a lot of also that subconscious, reprogramming. I've done a lot of that as well. But wow, that's kind of interesting.
Of all things. And I just found my pay, and then nothing's accidental. Everything is synchronistic. It's not amazing the colitis, but it's amazing that there's a similar story here.
Yes.
Of all things that I could have been diagnosed with. And it was hard, and I didn't even know what it was. It was just sharp pain. I couldn't even get out of bed. I was sweats. I was like, is this food poisoning? And it was lasting for days. And I was like, this is not that. I need to go in and get this checked out. And they did some testing and get that. I was like, I don't even know what the heck that is or what that means.
Right.
So it was hard because I think what you said, like that belief of like, now I become this dis-ease, or I am this issue where it's a symptom or just a cause and effect of it. It's not who you are. And that's something I learned too with going through cancer with my father. It's making sure to remind him and him reminding himself not to give that power to that dis-ease, because it's more of a almost like a detox symptom of those different things going on. So but very interesting that you, that you went through the same. Now I'm sure you're doing great now. When did you go through that?
I was 14 when I was first diagnosed. So 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah.
And it definitely was for me, not just a kind of quick fix. For me, it was 10 years of really being unconscious and young. 14, I was 14. So going through
25 years of it.
Yeah. Okay. So, there was a nice unconscious decade of continuing to eat processed foods and not taking care of my body and being young, and being in high school and being in college. And then it was really, in college, I moved to Chicago, and that's what really started my healing journey. Gosh, I was working at a gym part-time, and there was a trainer there, and he is a big, big muscle
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
and he was vegan. And he said,
Mm.
I used to have digestive issues, and once I went vegan, they all went away.
Wow.
And, maybe drink some more water and so work out and maybe go see a chiropractor. I did all that, and my symptoms went away within a month or two. And
Mm.
I was taking almost 20 pills a day, and the doctors just couldn't believe that
Of course.
wasn't taking my medications. And just like you said, I mean, all my gastroenterologists said, this is lifelong. There's no cure. You'll have to take medications forever. And I believe them. And
Mm.
so no one was telling me, hey, by the way, you should also change your diet and your thoughts and what else you're consuming, and work on your trauma. No one said those things because
Mhm.
a lot of them don't understand true healing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just like the system that they were taught. They're just relaying what they were told, just like our parents do. And our parents never have bad intentions, but
Right.
yet that pizza's just everyone's happy. But there's
Right.
not like the programs, the things that have been repeated so many times that we think is normal. So yeah, that all definitely resonates. And like you said, just taking your power back. I didn't know I could breathe my way through an emotion and feel it out instead of having to push it down with some kind of medication or a pill.
Oh,
And I think
yes.
there's a huge shift going on. I'm sure you know this, to like just a shift of holistic health and the full spectrum, right? Not just the branches, but the roots more so than the
Yes.
branches itself. And I think we
Yes.
focus a lot on those leaves at the very tip, but then the roots are just rotting and thirsty and acidic and inflamed. And we keep cutting off those branches, but the new ones that grow just they're wilting and they're getting shorter. I use a lot of analogies. I love analogies and
No, use
because
them.
people are like, "Oh, I know what a tree is. I know, I get that," instead of
Yeah.
something else. So, but yeah, that all resonates and definitely makes sense. Everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and in naturopathic medicine, we focus on getting to the root cause.
Yes.
That's really our primary focus, is really helping create those conditions for a healthy tree, for healthy
There
roots,
you
you
go.
know,
Love
so
it.
that way the leaves are, thriving
Right.
and
Exactly.
colorful.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
and tell me a little bit more about the water. So what
Hmm.
kind of water are we talking about here?
Yeah, so it comes from a machine from Japan, Kangen water, but the scientific term is electrolyzed reduced water. It's ERW. It's been around. It started in the 1950s with Russian scientists, and then they collaborated with Japanese scientists, and what they did was they started researching and understanding the different natural waters of the world. So Lourdes, France, Telecote, Mexico, Norndau, Germany are some of the most common. These are like the fountain of youth, right? People have ever heard of the fountain of youth, the miracle water, Zamzam water. It's real and it comes out of the ground. And what people I think are obviously waking up to and understanding is that there's properties in water. There's different components in water. Not all water is the same. So if you look at our planet, having a frequency and having an electric charge to it, our Mother Earth is living. So as water comes up, life force comes up from the ground, it gets charged. It gets charged with life in the form of electrons. And I'm very, very big on free energy. I love Tesla, like I already mentioned. I'm a big proponent of electrons, of understanding how to get different energy in the body, whether it's grounding, breath work, sun exposure, fasting. Those are all free energy ways. And a lot of people, consume fruits and vegetables, for example. One of the biggest things in those is not only is enzymes and the phytonutrients, but it's also the antioxidants and the electrons, or something called angstroms, the energetic value of it. So focusing on diet is so important, but then again, we're 70% water. So back to the whole natural springs, the water that's coming up from the ground is structured. It has what we call a negative charge, so like a negative ORP. That's water full of antioxidants, water full of electrons, molecular hydrogen gas, is proponents in it, and then also naturally occurring minerals, magnesium, calcium, potassium, sodium, things like that. And so what they did, they studied it, and then they tried to figure out, well, how could we get everybody access to this, right? Not everybody lives in Lourdes, France. I'm in California. The closest thing is hours south in Telecote, Mexico. So they decided to put something together, and literally they created this machine, this medical device that was introduced almost 45 years ago and is now kind of working its way throughout the world. And the water produces the structure, the antioxidants, and the naturally occurring minerals. And together, when you break down whether it's the digestive system, the lymphatic system, the brain, the heart, the blood, so many of those components are over 60 to 70, 80% or higher water. But what happens is a lot of the water is bottled. A lot of the water is dead. A lot of it it's purified, but water wants balance. It has a consciousness. And these are so many things that I've learned over the years. I don't know, are you familiar with Dr. Masaru Emoto?
Yes.
Yes.
The
So
snowflakes.
yes, absolutely incredible. So once I learned that, like you said, I was now being more mindful of, okay, the words I'm speaking that are casting these spells are now changing the structure of my body as a whole. And so once I saw that experiment and understood his teachings, and I've read all of his books, I then had to ask myself, okay, well, not only the water in me has got to be structured, but the water I'm putting in my body has to be structured. And I want to give that structure as well. And so again, there's so many different components of it, but now you can access it from these machines that are all over the world right now. I've helped hundreds of families get them, and the testimonials, because we all can't cure things, but the testimonials have been absolutely unbelievable for me and my father. And it's just amazing to see how something so powerful, whether it's in a glass in your house, just right there, can be so, therapeutic for many people. I always say brain fog, reach for a glass of water. Trouble breathing, reach for a glass of water. Digest, reach for a glass of water first, because that's what we are. So that's kind of a long story short of where it started, where it's kind of is now. And then obviously just it's kind of in our hands to share that with people and just bring education, just like you do, just bringing education and awareness, because gosh, not many people know there's any difference, right? And they just, all the water's the same. So yeah, that's been an eye-opening wormhole for sure. The water hole, the watering hole, we call it. Go down, going deep. There's so many water acronyms, but yeah, it's been an amazing experience learning wise, but more so empowering others with this knowledge and information as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. A really good colleague, a good friend of mine and colleague, he's one of my naturopathic doctors who's also
Mm.
becoming a psychedelic medicine therapist like I am.
Mm.
And
Amazing.
he has a Kangen water machine. And
Nice.
he's all about it as well. And, the past couple of years, he's been talking to me about it. I actually did a water fast with that water.
Wow.
Maybe 2 years ago. But I'm so on board. I love it.
Wow.
I didn't even know that you were into water.
I
so
know, right? That's one of my wormholes.
so
We
that's
could pick
awesome.
electrons. You could go down CBD. We could do fasting. Yeah, it
I
really is.
love it. But
Mhm.
I do want to touch on, you had mentioned with the snowflake experiment, even though I know it and you know it, the people who
Mhm.
are watching, they might not know it. Can you explain
Absolutely.
that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So think of it this way. Our body, obviously, is 70% water. What the experiment was done was they would extract water droplets and they would put different frequencies, or they would speak into the water. So if I were to say thank you, they would then code that, grab the water sample after I spoke that. They would freeze it at a certain temperature where the crystalline, the water, it's kind of like I don't know if you're aware of the fourth phase of water. It's Dr. Gerald Pollack. He studies this, and it's kind of the in between before the water becomes frozen and when it's in a liquid state. So they got it to a point where you could see the crystallization, and what they saw was things like "I love you" or "thank you" or "I'm grateful for you." Right? These empowering, compassionate words, this vibration, because words is vibration, was cast out in the water, and the water holds structure because water is connected to everything since the beginning of time. So even the water in our glass is from the first day this planet was here. It's always just a continual water cycle. And so they'd study it, and then they'd see these perfect crystalline structures form, like literally like a snowflake. And they would play Mozart, they would play Beethoven, they would play all of these amazing things. And then they did the opposite. They started saying, "I hate you," or "fear," or "you're not enough," or "you're worthless," or they play heavy rock, right? Or something very intense. And the structures, it's like it just fell. It was just crumbled. It was clogged. It was stagnant. It was distorted. And what happens, we always say micro of the macro. If you now understand that your body is 70% water and all of your cells contain these structures, because over 60% of it is at the cellular level, we are literally creating ourself from the within at the cellular level with the words we speak, and then the frequency that the water is being held in. So that experiment, again, shifted from the things I was listening to, the music I was listening to, the visuals I was putting in my life. But biggest thing was the words I was speaking out loud, the affirmations, because after seeing that under a microscope of a water molecule and then connecting that I am pretty much water, a big human being of water, it just connected and resonated. And that just really opened my eyes to so many things. So yeah, the experiment, Masaru Emoto, incredible. He's got tons of books, but some of his teachings is so far ahead of most research today, but a lot of it is catching up, whether it's with sound healing, whether it's with plant medicine and different things, but it's going back to the structure of each and every one of us. But if it was up to me, I'd rather have a crystalline, beautiful structure than a stagnant one. And proof is just right there, right in front of you. So it's very eye-opening for sure.
Yeah. Wow. And regarding the consciousness of water, what are your thoughts with the consciousness of plants?
Yes, actually, where's my book? I don't know if you've read that book. What's that book called? I'm blanking on it. The author's name is Chris something. But they talk about how plants have consciousness. And if I took you through my whole house, you'd see about 20 of them.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah.
Right. And I think, again, as something as simple as water, people forget without plants, we can't breathe. And they're living beings. They're not, and people go, well, they don't have feet. They don't talk, because we've associated the programs that living beings mean you have 2 feet and you can speak English, right? So a horse has 4 legs and neighs, so it's not a living being, but it's more so living than anything. And so I think with plants, just for the fact that they're silent, that they don't really move much, that they don't really do anything, it's like they're not alive. But if anything, they're more alive than ever, and they're listening, and they react the same way. I think there was a rice experiment done that Masaru Emoto did too. They put jars of rice in water, and they would say, thank you, I love you, to that rice. I hate you, go away, to the middle one. And then the last one, they would neglect it. They wouldn't even say anything to it. They would ignore the rice. The first one, the good one, the rice actually fermented and became amazing. The second one, it started to rot. The third one, it became black. Literally became black because of neglect. So with plants, they feel pain. There was an experiment done where plants actually could feel pain. And if you got a lighter and you're coming to a plant, there would be like a seismograph. They could actually measure, I think, the frequency or some kind of, I forget what the term is, but it would start jumping as if the plant was trying to scream, no, don't burn me, but it can't speak. So it's talking in frequency, which a lot of us may not be attuned to, but when you really tap in, you could start feeling and connecting with trees, with plants. It's more alive than maybe your next door neighbor in reality, So I think it's important, just the way not only plants give us oxygen, but that they do have feelings, that they want everything to grow and flourish. But the fact that there is a response to pain, there's a response to negativity that we can't see or hear, but we've got to start knowing that it's there, right? Shifting from the belief stage to the knowing stage, getting into that age Aquarius kind of aspect of ourselves. Gosh, it's hard to look at a plant any different, for me at least. And just having it in our home, and with the water, we give it beauty water. So it's 6.0, so it's slightly acidic, and these plants are literally, it's like they're having a party. You could see them literally rise of excitement when we give them this water. It's absolutely unbelievable. And we buy like 1 plant a week, and they're all throughout our house, but we definitely feel a difference. And for abundance, if anybody's watching and you're business minded and you're looking to build more income and abundance, have more plants in your house. Get some money trees. God, those things have been sprouting in our house and blooming more. And in reflection, our business is growing so much too. So there's always connections. What is within is without. But the bigger picture, yes, plants, they're alive, they're living, they're breathing. They allow us to breathe, but they also can hear and sense just like we can. So just kind of be mindful of it. Give them some love, give them a shout out, give them some water, pet their leaves. I know it might sound a little weird, but sometimes weird is normal. Sometimes weird is becoming the normal, right? Because I think everyone's minds are catching up to that fact itself. But yeah, I got to find that book. But actually, no, I can't see it from here. But it's an amazing book, and it just explains different experiments that they did to test consciousness in plants as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you said pet the leaves, because let me tell you, I do that to my babies.
Yes.
I
Of course, I
definitely
mean,
do it.
you wouldn't want to neglect a baby girl or a baby boy. I mean,
Mhm.
again, it's the lens. I think that's another thing is just so many lenses people see life in, right? We have so many perspectives. I could ask people, what is this? Oh, that's an iPhone. Oh, I look at it as a network, right? Oh, I see plastic. Well, I look at it as a business. No
Yeah.
one's right or wrong. It's just all the perspectives we take. So I think, especially too with health, so many lenses, and it's not like this is right or wrong. It's just what resonates with you. What is that inner truth, that inner knowing within you that a lot of people are realizing, and that's again taking their power back for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'd like to touch on the subconscious mind a bit.
Yeah.
Your thoughts.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just going to let you go.
That's a good way to put it. Your thoughts. It was
Mhm.
probably one of the most, again, aside from the water, understanding, and I researched a lot of Joe Dispenza, a lot of Bruce Lipton, these quantum physics guys, and studying the brain. I've read a lot of books about the brain. There's like an amazing documentary on how water um, affects the brain that I've watched, but the subconscious, gosh, it is literally just, it's the program that's running so many things today, right? If you were to offer someone some help and their first response is, leave me alone, it had nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do with anything. They just went right back to an old pattern because they didn't know or it was uncertain. And I think the more and more people become aware, because I always like to say and share with people that become aware of something first before trying to change anything. You've got to be aware that you even have a subconscious mind. You got to be aware that there are things that are going on a hamster wheel within your mind that are actually spitting out when triggered, and is now putting you in a state of resistance or rejection where your higher self is trying to let you absorb and receive. So our ego tends to get in the way as well. But I think going with the subconscious, knowing that 90% or more of our thoughts come from that, and a lot of those things are unconscious or subconscious, that's definitely the first step in making a change. And whether it's doing meditations, like you said, past life regressions or inner heal or inner child wounds, past traumas. I'm going through it with my father right now. And even me, after going through that cancer thing, sometimes he goes back to that story and latches onto it and doesn't actually see the present moment. So I think the biggest thing too is, what I like to do is a 3-second rule is, before you respond to things, just wait 3 seconds sometimes, because you'll literally notice yourself trying to respond, but you've got to be aware, is that like your actual conscious response or is that a subconscious response of rejection or like a trigger? Triggers especially. I know a lot of people will get triggered and I've got to slow down and ask them just to breathe and be like, okay, let me ask you again with this different perspective. Now they're like, oh, sorry, I didn't see it that way. I jumped the gun, or I replied too fast. I mean, I think we listen a lot to reply and not understand. And I think that's another component for the subconscious as well. But it's just like that, for example, like the analogy, the glacier, right? We see the tip of the glacier, the 10%, right? This is what Chris is, but that 90% is really what's going on underneath that water, behind those scenes. So becoming aware of the subconscious, this figuring out whether it's holding you back from your higher self, holding you back from your divine optimal timeline. And if so, what calls to action and tools can I take to hopefully rewire, reprogram? I don't like to say wipe clean, because I think there is balance to everything. I think there's things that are there for a reason for you to transmute and not necessarily dump. So I think being mindful of that as well. And then once you put that all together, you'll start noticing that words of affirmations are so powerful, right? Reminders, just self-talk of I am, or this is, or, I am healthy. I am healthy. Imagine, it's hard to get someone who's sick to even believe that,
Right.
right? But that's their conscious coming in going, I'm not healthy though, I'm sick. But their subconscious has been saying they've been sick.
Right.
So just bringing that up, but again, sometimes it's triggering, and you just got to hold space for people and ask them questions and how to get there. And I think questions are a great way to help people explore their subconscious as well. Just, I always say, be a question master with people, just like what you do, and you interview people and you ask questions. Sometimes the questions you ask, people start solving their problems by talking.
Every
Because
time.
every time, because not a lot of us don't get asked questions anymore, unless we're in school raising our hand, or
Mhm.
if we're getting a job interview.
Yep.
That's it. So it's
Right.
like, gosh, when was the last time you were asked 20 questions, not in an interview or a job interview?
Yeah.
Never. That's that lack of that connection and communication. So yeah, those are just a couple tidbits on just what, with the subconscious and being able to identify it first, become aware of it, take those steps to change, embody it. And then when you do, being able to help people do the same on their pace. We can't change anybody, but just give them that safe space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoy that perspective. And just like you were saying with the questioning, I love that you said that, because it is something that I do with my work is I was trained in, it's called holistic counseling.
Okay.
And in holistic counseling, you literally are going, it's like you are, what is a good analogy? You're taking someone to the shore of their subconscious and slowly dipping their feet in it,
I like
little
that.
bit by little bit, by each question. And you kind of get in there to help them understand these are the subconscious belief systems that are not serving me anymore. And then you work with them to find out, do you want to keep living this way? And then they can make that choice. I don't want to keep living this way, or I want to keep living this way. I'm not ready to let that go. Okay, sounds good. We'll keep working on it. And then, you can work with someone in that way.
Yes.
But then not just the cognitive or the talk therapy, but I've also found that hypnoanalysis, energy healing have also pretty profound, and psychedelic medicine have pretty profound ways of healing the subconscious, and not just healing it. Like you said, it's not so much healing, but just resolving some things that need to be resolved to help you really reach your full potential.
Yes. I love that analogy of the shore, and I love that you use water. And I love that the fact of getting your feet wet and just, ooh, it's cold, but it's okay. Why is it cold? And then, like you said, just letting them choose to make that decision, not you say, hey, it's time for you to heal. That's going to go, whoop, inner child wound. I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy enough. Boom, deflection. And poke. And I was in that loop for a long time with some of my friends and family, but just kind of moving and navigating through that. And then, like you said, plant medicine, I'm such an advocate for it. Growing up, I was in the scared phase of, I don't know what this is, or I'm never going to do these things, but I wasn't educated. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what it's helping with the mind, whether it's psilocybin or ayahuasca combo, these different things that have been around for so long. And a lot of our pharmaceuticals replicate it in so many different ways. But I think that definitely what you said there, and I'm so glad you are helping people with that medicine, just to get them to that place where they can, in a safe space, face the things that have been literally a 2,000-pound weight on their ankle their whole life that they were never aware of. They never looked down, or they never looked up or left or right. They just were just kind of stuck. And have you also studied anything with like neurolinguistics, NLP? Yeah. Okay. I figured.
Yeah. But tell the viewer what that is.
Yeah. So neurolinguistic programming, I've dove in it briefly, but I think a lot of just the self-discovery of yourself, you start tapping into those things. So I can't probably elaborate too much on it, but it's just a way to understand the different ways of the mind and how things work. Getting to understand the subconscious patterns, the unconscious patterns. I also know there's like the limbic system, the reptilian brain. We have like, not literally, but tons of brains, whether it's our gut, it's the different cortexes, the neocortex, the hypothalamus, the pineal. There's just so many connections there. But NLP is a great thing if you've never heard of it, just to look into it and understand it. And it's just a great way to kind of help bypass some of the walls or the barriers to really get to some root things within the mind. Like we always talk about within the body with health, but mental health is just as strong, if not a bigger component than anything. But yeah, neurolinguistic programming, NLP, is definitely an amazing practice that I know a lot of people are utilizing now and more than ever. And I believe Joe Dispenza uses it too, and these other guys. As well. So definitely go look up those names also.
Yeah. Oh yes. Love Joe Dispenza. Incredible. I would love to, talk to him one day too, because he's
going to happen.
just,
You're manifesting it.
I am manifesting it. If you're hearing this,
there you go. Of course.
But I originally got into NLP when I was working at a integrative office downtown Chicago, way before I even went into med school. But that's what really got me inspired, is because it was this integrative one-stop shop where the chiropractor who owns it, she also had NLP practitioners, acupuncturists, massage therapists, physical therapists, chiropractors, and pranic energy healers, and
Mm.
all in the same space, including licensed clinical social workers. I mean,
Wow.
we were doing meditations at lunch for CEOs and politicians. I
Love
mean,
it.
it was really cool.
Yeah.
And that's what really inspired me. And she introduced me to a doctor named Dr. John DeMartini. Have
Mm.
you
Okay.
ever heard of
No,
him?
I've never heard. I'm actually going to write the name down.
Okay. Well, and he, you know, he's been doing this for 10, 20, 30 years probably
Huh?
now, but he has tons of education and empowerment videos, programs, conferences, seminars. And she was really big into him. And we would go as a team to his
Mm.
seminars for the weekend. And he would really teach you to really hone in on what your highest values are and why they are your highest values, and to reprogram and retrain your whole life to fit those values so you're in alignment with your highest purpose, because then
Wow.
you will thrive.
Yeah.
And in business, if you are in that alignment and purpose, you are going to serve people with passion.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also help them and help them with your service by understanding their highest value and teaching them, and then they're going to thrive. And it's like this beautiful domino effect.
So,
Um, so yeah.
wow. That's amazing. I love that last bit, like the fractal. That's how one person can make a change in the world. And I think so many people are like, I can't change the world. I can't snap and everybody's happy. Just focus on you, focus on then on someone else, and then help them, and just like that cup overflowing in a way,
Right.
right? Just constantly overflowing. But that's amazing that NLP got you started. I think NLP should be in education courses in school. But I mean, obviously the school system's changing so much, but I think there's
Yeah.
so many different things of understanding, whether it's mental health, NLP, subconscious things. Those are just like core curriculum. And I
Yeah.
think so many mental issues and so many drug abuse and all these different things of domestic violence, because, you know, a lot of these students, whether it's high school, college, or even grad school, maybe they came from a rough growing up that first 7 years. And so
Mm-hmm.
now those next 7 or 14 years is just piling on more on that damaged subconscious. So when you become aware of it, at, like you said, at an earlier age, I always say divine time for everything, but I'll always say I wish I learned this stuff sooner. It always would help, but the best time is now. But I think it would just, the shift of implementing, going back to the root cause of so many things, of implementing that in curriculum or core courses. And I do believe that'll happen. I think it's a matter of time. And I think a matter of enough people waking up to these things, of these different ways of healing and helping yourself, but putting that in a place where now you can educate people on it and give people those
Yeah.
tools for success and not rely on things outside of them. But yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
And kind of in the beginning of my journey, when I first moved to Chicago and I started changing things, I would put Post-it notes everywhere,
Really?
positive affirmations, and
Wow.
I read them every day. And then when I started working at that doctor's office, the owner, she would read 180 affirmations every morning, and she made me create my own. And then I gave this to my mother, and you know, and I don't recommend 180.
I was
um
gonna say, I thought I
and
was good at 20.
yeah, I don't recommend it anymore, but it really did help,
Oh yeah.
you know, my life, because now I just think that way. You know, I used to tell
Yeah.
myself, you know, I'm unstoppable, I am loved, I am healthy, I deserve health and wellness and, you know, abundance. And
Yes.
saying it every single day, it's like, well, now I kind of just feel that. You know, I
Wow.
kind of just live that now. But you have to train. You have to train the thoughts.
Yes. Just like a muscle, just like a muscle in the gym, our mind is a muscle. And I think that's another great way of explaining it, is that daily consistency, right? I think time really does distort a lot of things in people's realities. I think because time was something was kind of man-made in a way where it's could extend something so far, but then that extension takes people out of the present. And so if they miss a day, they feel like, oh, they just messed up their whole year, because now they jump to the whole year instead of, no, there is no such thing as a whole year. That's an accumulation of your present moments. Like the present moment is a pre-sent moment that you give yourself, becoming aware of everything in front of you. And that's why breathing, breath work, like you mentioned, is so important, because it brings you back to your moment. With
Right.
whether it's shallow breathing or upper diaphragm breathing, you know, breathing into your belly and bringing you to that present moment and allowing you to then consistently day after day, because really it's just one day repeating for as many days as you want, those I am affirmations. And just like going to the gym, you don't expect to, you know, lift as much weight as you do day one. And you don't complain a week later that you're weak, but you know why, because you haven't been going to get stronger. So yeah, definitely the I am affirmations. If you don't do them and you're watching this, start them. Maybe you don't do a 180, but start with one. Whatever it is, I am alive.
Yes.
Most people don't even realize they're alive. I am breathing. Oh my gosh, I'm breathing. Right? I am healthy. I am mindful. I'm aware of my surroundings. Your brain has never even heard you say that because someone else has told you what to do. Your teacher has told you, the media has told you, right? Democrats and Republicans and celebrities and all these things that includes in the matrix is telling you instead of you telling yourself. And again, taking your power back. It seems like that's the common theme, right? And just I am affirmations are probably the two most powerful words that I had no idea. I had no idea. I knew they were there, but I didn't know, I had no idea the power that they could give in me. Not that I was invincible, but that I can do things. I am capable of building a business. I am capable of helping others. I'm capable of being a mentor for others, regardless what my bank account says or what society labels me as. I am capable. I am capable. I am capable. Wait a minute, I am capable. And he just, okay, you are. And your higher self's just smiling down at you. So definitely such positive words. I am affirmations. Definitely do those.
Yes. And I love that you touched on the breathing. That is something I've been really supporting my patients with, getting them doing, you know, different types, Wim Hof method, holotropic breathing, you know, all different kinds depending on what they need. But I'm really finding that that's such a huge, a powerful tool to emotionally regulate. And you had mentioned like addiction. And I really feel like addiction is an attempt to regulate our nervous system. And because we don't know how to, because we're not taught how to breathe or meditate or pause and take those 3 seconds like you had mentioned.
Yeah, gosh, that's such a good point. And that's a great way, because that nervous system, that's another thing that I've learned so much about is the parasympathetic and sympathetic. And usually that shallow breathing, you know, for example, like an animal, if it gets attacked or a bear attacks a deer and then the deer escapes, what animals do, because they don't want to hold on to that trauma, that uncertainty, that fight or flight, they'll start spazzing. They'll literally transmute that energy out and it looks like they're dying, but then they pop up and they're back to grazing again. Because animals don't have time to go through those things because another bear is going to come. So they're always living in that state. But I think us as people, it's not a bear attacking us. It's our boss yelling at us, or it's our spouse telling us that we forgot something, or our kids nagging at us, or our dog that doesn't start barking at us and just pents us up. And then instead of just exhaling it out because we breathe 24/7, right? But we forget to breathe. Instead of doing that, we go right to a stimulant, or we go to an escape, or something where it's distracting us, whether it's TV or a drug or alcohol, or just numb ourselves instead of kind of sitting with ourselves. And the best way to just transmute those things is breathing. And whether it's 10 conscious deep breaths, but every breath slowly puts your body from fight or flight to it's safe, rest and recover. Nothing is hurting you. It's just words coming into your bubble. Your aura is a little shook, but it doesn't mean you're inferior or you lack or you're in scarcity or you're unworthy of it all. But I think just getting back to the present moment by breathing helps people transmute it quicker than now they're not breathing because their energy's up here. And I'm trying to think, what did I do wrong? I'm not even know what I'm doing wrong. And I'm on a hamster wheel and I haven't even took a breath yet. And then all those thoughts, it's just energy and motion, emotions, energy and motion. That's another great term that really connected a lot for me. But being able to breathe through, whether you feel it or it's like a pattern that comes back up again, but your body is getting tight because your body's trying to signal to you, hey, I'm here. I'm not a part of you or separate from you. We're in this together. And so by breathing, you kind of it's like letting your body know that you're connected back into your body. Your mind and body is connected again. So belly breaths, I've been doing that more. But even just 10 conscious breaths a day. And if some people, I don't have time for that, or that's too hard, that should be literally, there's the subconscious. That's maybe what it is, that you're not putting your time for yourself in the first place. But yeah, breathing, definitely good. to help reset, obviously overcome some triggers or some traumas in the present moment, but also deep breath work consistently can pull out emotions and help transmute those things that have been stuck way down there for a long time, just like plant medicine would do too.
Right.
Yeah, but breathing, absolutely. We breathe 24/7, but we forget to breathe. I always tell people that.
We do. We do. I do
Mhm.
so much like breath retraining, and
Mhm.
it's so interesting, you know, to teach someone something so nuanced,
I
but
know.
so powerful.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I know. Something so simple, whether it's switching your water, breathing, getting
Mhm.
outside, putting your feet on the ground without socks that I was against my whole life because I was going to get dirty, or I was going to get step on a thorn. I went worst case scenario, but it's like the simplest things are right in front of you. They're right there. They're within you. They're in your lungs. They're in your brain. They're in your heart. They're in your aura. They're in your energetic body. They're in your thoughts. They're in your water. They're in the sun. They're in the ground. They're not in a store. They're not always in a bottle. They're not always on a shelf. Those are all things that I always say what is within is without. If there's something on the shelf that could help you, that means there's something within you that can already help yourself today. And it's just like, again, giving our power away to those things. Those are important. We could need some of those things, but at the end of the day, you've got everything within you, whether it's from your breath, from your mindset, from your heart vortex in your blood, from the brain and your neurotransmitters sending signals to the rest of your body, like a big computer hard drive. But just getting back to those basic principles that free energy is everywhere. You just gotta look, but also see, right? See through that veil and that lens at the same time as well. Hmm.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts
Oh my
or
gosh.
anything else that you'd like to share?
There's
I
so
could talk to you for hours.
I know, it's so fun. I think the biggest thing, given the situation everybody's in, if you're watching this, obviously this virus is going around, and at the end of the day, a lot of us are in our house. We're not able to do much. Nothing's really going out in society. I always call the matrix is stopped for a second. Take this time, whether you're in fear or in love, or you're in uncertainty or compassion, whatever emotion, whatever feelings you're riding or feeling, embrace them and give them a hug and sit with them and know that this is literally the best thing to happen to you. And it's hard maybe for people because they lost money and they lost their job, or their family might be sick. And I'm not talking about those things. I'm just saying what you can control. And I think we're all learning right now the things we can control and what we can't control. And now the things we can't control, how much power were we giving it to? And then the things we can control, what are we doing to build that power back up, that energy within us back up, doing the inner work, facing some things that part of us that we never faced before. But I think the biggest thing is just keep learning about yourself. Learn more about yourself. If the only thing you know about yourself is your birth date and what your favorite color is, it's awesome because there's so much more you're about to discover. Whether it's your astrology, whether it's human design, whether it's understanding how your mind works, understanding the brain, the body, tapping into different ways of meditation. This is the best time than ever to learn something new about yourself, about the world, about a skill, because when this passes, and it will, you just, like I always say, you want to come out of it better. We're all going to come out of it better. The old earth is fading and crumbling and dying, and the new earth is being birthed at the same time. So sometimes we focus on the death and crumbling and uncertainty and fear, but just shifting those degrees to the opportunity, the abundance, the amazing transformation. The earth is healing, the waters are healing. We're all healing at an energetic level. Our hearts and our brains are coherent and connecting on the cloud and the collective consciousness. But if that is a little bit too much over your head, just start with yourself. Start with your day. Start with your routine. What can you do today? Whether it's drink more water, create a new habit, start I am affirmations, right? Asking yourself, what things can I do to improve and make my life better? But also be present with yourself and know that you have everything you need in this moment. So yeah, if you're watching this, keep up what you're doing. We see you, we love you, and you're amazing, and you're a big part of this new earth that we're all creating collectively.
Yes. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much. I
You're very
really
welcome. Thank
appreciate it.
you. Yeah, this was amazing. I thank you for reaching out and hosting this. Like you said, we could talk probably for 10 hours with all kinds of topics, but
Oh
you know,
yeah, I'm already thinking. I'm like,
I
wait,
know.
I want to talk about electrons. I want to talk about
Oh
frequencies.
gosh, that's no. Now we're talking cellular communication, bioharmonics. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, guys, if you knew me and if you knew me 2 years ago, I wouldn't even know what you're talking about. I would not have any idea of anything except, is it Friday? Could we go to the bar? Can we go do this? Like I'm just living my life. But now, after my awakening, after my life changes, after helping these people and seeing these things, it truly is amazing when you really connect these dots and you start stepping into that divine timeline. But yeah, there's so much to discover, but you can all discover it today. Best time is now. Pick up a book, listen to one of the interviews or podcasts, or just get curious and then see where it takes you. See what wormhole you go down. But only you can choose that, not us. But yeah. Awesome.
Thank you. And then one other thing you had mentioned, you, with your transformation, do you drink alcohol?
I don't anymore. I actually I was a tequila guy. I loved IPAs and all those things. But again, it was not me not liking it. It was just, I now knew what it was doing to me on so many lenses, right? If there was, the reason why I used to was to escape or to have fun, I can do that now by closing my eyes or by just being around like-minded people or talking to you, for example. So it's not that I've hated or ignored. I've just substituted it with something on a higher timeline for me. But it's just, I'll have some wine here and there, like at a wedding. I'll be respectful of the ceremony and the guests and things like that. I'm not like a complete stonewall of it. But overall, I've just, that's part of me I've let go now for a few years, and it's probably one of the best things I've done too, as well.
Yeah, I'm going on 2.5 years now. Amazing. with no alcohol, and like you said, I think it really was one of the best things. I just feel so much clarity, and I feel like I can get high and enjoy myself, like you said, naturally.
It's all within you.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. We'll have to do another one.
Hey, you know where to find me. Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Night.
And much love to you and everybody watching. Thank you guys for tuning in.
All right. Bye.